Guys, it's Glenn from glenscarcollection.com. In 3 years we've had this YouTube channel, we've reviewed over 600 different cars. You know, we started with my own cars, then went to subscriber cars, press cars. So out of those 600 different cars that we've reviewed, and you can browse through the channel to see those, these are 10 cars that I like so much that I want to take home with me. So these aren't cars that I currently own. You've seen the other video where I gave my top, of the 100 cars I've owned, my top 5. And, you know, that could have easily been a 10 or 20 or even 30 cars that I love, but I limited it to 5, so we didn't have like an hour-long video. So here we've driven 600 different cars for the channel. So I'm picking the 10 cars that I drove. I'm like, wow, I wish I could take home with me. So the number 1 car, and this is in no particular order, so maybe this is the number 10 car. And watch this video all the way to the end because you won't believe what the last car is. But one of the cars I definitely want to take home, and this is a car I drove pretty recently, is the Audi R8. Now I did a comparison video of 2 different 2014 R8s, one with the V8 and the dual clutch. So in 2014, they dropped the R-Tronic, which was the single clutch transmission, which was horrible. And they went to the S-Tronic, which is a dual clutch. So the gray one that you see here is the V8 with the dual clutch, and then the Suzuka gray one, which to me looks white because I think I'm colorblind. That actually is a manual, 6-speed manual V10. So whether you want both all-wheel drive cars, actually the Suzuka gray one was actually converted to rear drive. So watch that review. That was the longest review I ever done, 45 minutes. And I drove my McLaren 570S to film that video to meet these guys. And I would have sold it in a heartbeat or traded it straight up for the Audi R8 V10 manual. That's how good the car is. So whether you want the 430 horsepower from the V8 or the 525 horsepower from the V10, they're both amazing cars to drive. The dual clutch on the car was pretty good, and the V8 sounded really well. If I remember correctly, both of these cars had aftermarket exhausts, and the V10 is actually under 4 seconds to 60. It's anywhere from 3.6 to 3.9. depending whether you take the dual clutch or the manual. But an amazing car to drive, and I highly recommend it. And it's really, you know, these cars still cost a pretty penny, and they're going up in value every year. One of the few cars that do that, but they are worth every penny for sure. All right, so the next car we're going to talk about is probably one of the more affordable cars, and that is the Cayman S. Now, this car I reviewed last summer and had a blast with it. The dealer gave me an awesome price where I could have purchased this car, and I wish I just had the space and, of course, the money to buy it. But it's a mid-engine Porsche, 6-speed manual transmission, 320 horsepower, and it really was an amazing car to drive. Now, this car was a very low options car. As you can see in this video, it's pretty much got the stock wheels. It didn't even have export exhaust, but it sounded amazing if you want to watch that video. It had the base steering wheel. I don't believe it didn't have sport chrono or PASM or anything like that. Maybe the only option it had was like heated seats or something, but it was just a fantastic car to drive. These cars have actually gone up in value because a lot of people don't like the 718 Caymans. I actually love how they handle. The thing I don't like about the sound of the engine, I don't know if that would stop me from buying it, but this is one of the normally aspirated cars. This was a 2014 model, and it was just a phenomenal car to drive, and I wish I could have taken this car home. And they've gone up in value because of the 718 sliding with a 4-cylinder turbocharged motor. The 981Ss, which is what this is, and GTS have actually been going up in value. So this car is probably worth $4,000 or $5,000 today in 2020 than it was when I filmed it in 2019. All right, now the next car on our list is the Shelby GT350R. This car I drove, I believe it was last fall, and it was just an amazing car to drive. I really couldn't stop driving it. This review took me probably 3 or 4 hours to film because that's how good it was. Basically, my rule of thumb is the more I like the car, the longer the video is. So if you browse through the channel and see the real long videos, those are the cars I like the most because those are the cars I really enjoy driving. So the specs on the 2017 Shelby GT350R model, remember this is the one with the carbon fiber wheels, 526 horsepower at 7,500 RPM, 429 foot-pounds of torque at 4,750 RPM. What I love most about it is the 8,250 RPM redline, and this car sounds amazing doing that. You want to rev this car out all day. The power to weight ratio is 7 pounds per horsepower, and this car was actually bought, you know, when the Rs came out, people were asking 90, 100,000. You could, you know, go on the classifieds, and there's still people asking that. This car was actually bought used by one of my friends for about $60,000. Now that's what a new GT350 would cost you, and here you can get a slightly used R for that. I would definitely go for the R. Just an amazing sounding car right out of the box. I don't think this car really needs any modifications, and one of my favorite cars that I've ever driven on the channel. All right, and the next car I love is the Lotus Evora 400. Now we've done a couple Evoras on this channel. I'm a former Lotus Exige S owner, so I really love these cars. The 400 I think gives you everything. It's mid-engine. You got a 6-cylinder engine producing 400 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, 300 foot-pounds of torque. You can get it with a manual transmission. Now I think the Evora 400 right now is one of the bargains to buy. With the new GT version out of the Evora, which depending on options costs between $100,000 and about $120,000, you can get slightly used Lotus Evora 400s for about $70,000. Now it's very hard to find a manual transmission. Most of the ones that I see come up for sale are automatics. Now this car is very lightweight. It's 3,120 pounds. So this is basically the same power to weight ratio of a C5 Z06 Corvette. This car has amazing handling and amazing steering feel. So unlike most of the cars that you would buy today with electric steering, this actually has hydraulic steering. And you could see it, watch the video I did of the Evora 400, and I comment about the steering in the very first turn. That's how obvious it was. All right, now this is a car I didn't realize how good it was till I actually drove it. And this is the Mazda RX7, known as the FD. Now this car produces in stock form 255 horsepower. It's got a 1.3 liter rotary engine. Again, 255 horsepower at 6,500 RPM. It's a torqueless wonder, 217 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000. This car was just amazing to drive. I didn't realize how good this car is. Now, it's a small car. It's only 169 inches in length. To give you an idea, my 993 Turbo is 168 inches. My BMW 1 Series, again, based on a 1 Series, is 172 inches. So a 1 Series is 3 inches bigger than this RX-7. But it's so light and nimble. And I'm telling you, when that rotary engine comes up to full song, it's just an incredible experience. That car felt so fast, so nimble. And after filming this video, now this is an old video, this is 2017, the car was just, like, I couldn't get enough of this car. Like, I got home, I talked to Tommy F. Yeah, I tried to buy one of these many times. Unfortunately, most of these cars have not been very reliable. There are reliability mods you can do. A lot of the cars that I looked at just had some poor modifications done and just never ran quite well. If I could find a good one, now they've really gone up in price since 2017. If they were still 2017 prices, believe me, I would own one. Now the next car on our list here, I actually did own. Not this exact car, because this is a car that I never should have sold. So now in 2007 was the first year of the supercharger, produced 220 horsepower. So this is the 2007 Lotus Exige 220. Now what's great about this car, besides the looks and it's awesome to drive, is the curb weight. This car weighs just over 2,000 pounds. So it's actually 2,2077. So under 2,100 pounds. Supercharged 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. Only comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. Now this is hardcore. If you like hardcore cars like me, this is even more hardcore. So what I tell people is, if you want to know if a Lotus Exige S is for you, go to a place that has real go-karts, whether it's shifter karts or Rotax karts. You know, do some races with them, and then imagine taking that car on the street and driving with real traffic, and then you'll know if that car is for you, because it's really hardcore. I thought I had a bad back from playing hockey. When I sold my Lotus Exige S, my back got better. Now this car is one of our first, I guess, heavily modded cars. So here it looks like an RS4 Wagon. The only problem is Audi never gave us a wagon version of the RS4, just the S4. So this gentleman that owned the car, who's a subscriber to our channel, who had reached out to me, he actually had an S4 wagon that he put in an RS4 engine and drivetrain. So it drove just like an RS4, but really the body is an S4. And this is probably one of the best cars I ever drove. He put this for sale shortly after us filming this video, and this car was probably the best sounding car on the channel, I think, because he straight piped it. And if I could have bought it, and again, we're all limited by space and especially money, I would have bought this car. That's how good it was. So in stock form, an RS4 has 420 horsepower. It's powered by the 4.2 liter V8, which a variant actually wound up in the Audi R8 V8. It's a heavy car. It's 3,957 pounds. It only comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. And even in driving on these back roads in New Jersey, it was one of the best driving cars I ever drove. This was another video that took me 3 or 4 hours to film because I like driving this car so much. This car sold for good money. I think this car sold for like $80,000 or something, which is even more than a regular RS4 would sell for. But it was just an amazing car to drive, and definitely check out the full video we have on the channel. This is one that I won't forget. All right, so I've given you all those cars so far, and we have no BMWs. That's really amazing, especially for me that probably half my videos are BMWs. So it has to be a car that I didn't own. So the E90, E92 M3 can't be here because I've owned those. Obviously, you see my E46 M3s, the 1M Z3M Coupe, all those BMWs I own. So one car that I would love to own, and that would be as a daily driver, would be the BMW M5. This was just a fantastic car to drive. And I've driven this car. There's a video of me driving it on the racetrack and a full review of this car. And this car really can do everything. It's a little bit heavy, on the heavy side for sure. You know, if you really want to do track days, I think you're going to be much better suited to a BMW M3 or M4 or something like that. But if you want one car that does everything for my commercial real estate business, it would be perfect, and slaying some back roads on the weekends. Again, it's a heavier car, 4,370 pounds. It's powered by a turbocharged 4.4 liter V8. In base form, makes 600 horsepower. The competition version, which I did not drive, I've only driven the base version, 617 horsepower. It's an expensive car. So again, these are not necessarily the cheapest or the most expensive cars or exotic cars, but it's cars that I wish that I could just take home after driving it. And after driving the BMW M5, I wish I could take it home and make it my daily driver. All right, now this car may surprise some of you. As you know, I own a 2005 Acura NSX, so I can't pick that, I already own it. But I would actually pick in my top 10 the 2019 Acura NSX. So we have 2 videos on the channel on the new NSX. We have the 2017, which is this beautiful blue one, and then this pearl white 2019 Acura NSX. And if you watch this video of my review of this car, I actually shared this car with Steve Hammis from Test Drive Now. He's a really cool dude. We both got to share driving with the car, and it was a really awesome experience. Now, if you follow the channel, you know I like normally aspirated stick shift mid-engine rear drive cars, so why would I pick this car? Yeah, it's got mid-engine, but none of those other things. So it's only powered by 9-speed twin clutch auto, which is actually very good. They made a lot of little improvements from the first year, 2017 model year to 2019. And those little improvements put together is really a huge improvement in the driving experience. So that car weighs just under 3,900 pounds, 3,878 pounds. So it's still a heavier car. It's a turbocharged 3.5 liter V6 with electric motors, giving you up to 573 horsepower and combined 476 foot-pounds of torque. The 0 to 60 time is really fast in this car. It's about 3 seconds flat, and it feels every bit of it. And I think Acura has finally got it. Would I rather have a cheaper version that was rear drive with a manual transmission? Of course, but we have technology now, and you know, it's a hybrid supercar. Let's embrace it. And this car definitely would make my list. This car is completely analog, and this is probably my favorite car of all time. And that is the 2005-2006 Carrera GT. Now, what's not to like? This is my favorite type of engine, just like the R8, but way to an extreme. The V10 normally aspirated engine. So it's a 5.7 liter V10. This car barely weighs 3,000 pounds. It's 3,043. It only comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. It's not a torque monster, makes 435 foot-pounds of torque, but this car was probably the most amazing, at least from seat of the pants, fastest car that I've ever been in. And this car, if you own one, keep it forever, because if I won Powerball, that's the first thing I would buy. That's how good this car is. It's just an amazing, you know, Doug DeMuro was right. He said this was his favorite car. My BMW 1M is in the Doug DeMuro videos. You can watch that. So Doug and I text each other, and as soon as I was in this car, I said, Doug, you're absolutely right. This was an amazing car to drive, and this is probably my favorite car of all time. All right, so what did you think of my list? Let me know in the comments below what your top 5, your top 10 cars. So these are not cars you've owned. These are cars that maybe you got to drive, or maybe somebody gave you a ride in it. And if you could take any car home with you, you drove it, you were in the passenger seat, you saw it and said, hey, if I could take that car home right now, I would. And I'll read each and every comment, so make sure that you comment below on your favorites. And remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be safe, everyone.